This big picture, in this environment, frankly, some sort of inchoate, bottom-up, indefinite expression of anger at Wall Street and anger at their control over our lives and our country now is probably a little overdue. The Occupy Wall Street protests in New York have been going on for 12 days now. Most of the media attention they have received thus far has been because of violent and rather outrageous police tactics used against the protesters. But the reason this movement is growing, and in fact spreading to other American cities now, is not because of some message about police tactics toward protesters. That is not the larger point. The larger point is the basic message, the basic point about who caused the mess the country is in right now, who has figured out how to benefit from it, and who is stopping us from fixing it. And again, attention to that feels a little overdue. Joining us now is Chris Hayes, host of the new and already great Up with Chris Hayes, airing weekend mornings on MSNBC. Chris is also editor-at-large of The Nation. And Chris, I've never seen your sailor shirt before. It's adorable.
Why, thank you.
It's very nice.
Adorable is what I was going for.
It is. It's fetching. Is that better?
That's great.
All right. Whether or not most people agree with direct action as a political tactic, and I think that's something you either are inclined toward or you're not, do you think the Occupy Wall Street folks are tapping into what is, in effect, a very mainstream sentiment that hasn't had a real political outlet yet?
Yeah, that's exactly what I think what they're doing. I think that part of the kind of cognitive dissonance people experienced in first seeing Occupy Wall Street, and I saw it myself, was the disconnect between the way that we couch these issues in mainstream American politics, middle class, etc., and the image of direct action of kids sleeping in sleeping bags in a park. And those two have somehow become disparate in our imaginations because we have this sort of mainstream political discourse about the middle class and mainstream's getting screwed, and we have lost, I think, in some ways, the conception of politics outside of those channels. And I think what is exciting about Occupy Wall Street, and I think what has captured people's imagination, is a feeling that the normal channels don't feel like they're working. That, I think, is really the thing that is most powerful about it, and the thing that people share is that people feel like the normal channels of sort of feedback into the system aren't working, that their voices are being ignored, and that they don't have control. And even if this is a cri de coeur, even if this is inchoate or unfocused, it feels like some sort of voice in the wilderness saying, look, everything is broken right now. And I feel that way every day, waking up and coming to this building to go read the internet or talk to people as a reporter. Things are not working. And just the basic truth of that and the basic unfairness in the disparate impact of the way things are not working is so essential to our experience of Americans at this moment that I think there's something really powerful about it.
And within the system, I mean, most of what we cover as political news is actors by people who are within the political system. And right now, one of the two parties, in the form of President Obama and this very high-profile Senate candidate, Elizabeth Warren in particular, are trying to say the system shouldn't be so broken. The system can be fixed so that it does address mainstream Americans' concerns and not just the concerns of the people who are doing great right now and the people who screwed us over, i.e. Wall Street. Is the message itself important that they are even trying, or do they need to be offering something very concrete that'll make a difference in people's lives in order to connect people back to the political system?
I go really back and forth on this, right? Because at a certain level, that message is diluted because we all know that Barack Obama raises tons of money from Wall Street. And Nancy Pelosi, God bless her, who I love and think is a great politician and has great politics, also raises a lot of money from Wall Street. They all do. They all have to. That's the way the system works. And people,
that's where all the money is.
That's where all the money is. And the point that you made actually in the opening is a really important one. The very perverse and vicious cycle of the disparate sort of recoveries we have is that there's even more money in Wall Street now, and politicians are growing more dependent on fundraising from Wall Street, which is really, really perverse. So I think that message is diluted by the campaign finance system we have, where it is harder for people to credibly believe the distinction is as great as they would want it to be. And then it's partially a product of the fact that Republicans are able to obstruct and subvert and destroy a lot of the initiatives that really would help working class people.
What's going to happen with this protest movement? It's starting to spread around the country. People are starting to move beyond, I think, the frustration, the perceived, I think, impotence of direct action politics, which I think is just a class distinct, which is just that as a political tactic, as a class. As it doesn't go away and as it spreads to other movements, do you see the political system on the left embracing it at all, or do you think it stays outside the system?
I think, so there was a report in Crain's today about a bunch bunch of New York City unions that are going to go down and join the protests on Wednesday, which I think was a sort of major step. The transit workers, particular transit workers, are a good militant union. They had a strike here in New York a few years ago. So I do think that people understand that even if they felt some misgivings at the beginning, or I don't know what the demands are, and I understand those. I mean, I had those same feelings myself in the beginning, that there is some actual genuine energy here. And you know what? At the end of the day, I was having this conversation with someone else. What else is working right now?
Yeah.
Honestly, look around you. What else is working? People feel like, well, let's take a flyer on something else.
Direct action for all the frustrations that it causes, it very often gets the goods. It really does.
Yeah.
In a way that doesn't get much credit. Chris Hayes, editor-at-large of The Nation.